Hello everybody, here we are today talking about our Week 9 CFL picks and getting on into that. So before we get started, please make sure to subscribe if you're new to me or the CFL, whatever the case may be. That being said, let's get on into it. So Week 8 was absolutely atrocious. I ended up going 0-4, but for all of my lack of football IQ, knowledge, and whatnot, I actually was kind of smart because in my video last week, if I have time I'll clip it, I talked about how I said I would probably go 0-4 because that felt like the week it would be. And what happened? I went 0-4, which is unfortunate, but at least I saw it coming. I wanted to make some changes. I didn't. I think 2 or 3 of the games I nearly flipped, but I said, no, I'm going to hold firm here, and it didn't work out for me. But with that being said, we're hoping for a nice bounce back week where I can try to go with my gut again and maybe have my first 4-0 week after going 0-4 and get back on the right track. So with that all being said, let's talk about our picks for the week. The first game of the week is going to be a big one for especially the Winnipeg Blue Bombers as they play host to the BC Lions. BC is coming off of a bye, and there's a lot of talk swirling about Winnipeg and the fact that they once again lost and can't really get out of the hole at the moment that they've dug themselves in. They are now 2-6. This is the worst season they've had in a minute, and they look poised to maybe not even crack 500 on the year or even make it to 500. Again, this was a fortress. Nobody could win in Winnipeg, but this season that myth has been cracked quite a bit, and this team looks like they could be fading fast, and they're taking on a Lions side that is competing with the Saskatchewan Roughriders for the top spot out west. And really, if we're being honest, it comes down to probably them and the Riders at this point for the top spot in the division. Calgary just took a bad loss to Ottawa, and then, of course, you have a team in Winnipeg that can't seem to find its groove, and then Edmonton is in its own little world as they are 0-7. This may be in Winnipeg, but I'm not even going to lie here. Even though I'm a Lions fan, and people will say that I'm biased, I don't see a world where Winnipeg wins this one. Yes, you can clip it as they go on to win it after I went 0-4. But BC, knowing that they could have a nice win over a Winnipeg team that has been able to get in their way a couple times in the past few years for the playoffs and also make it harder for them to get in the postseason, feels more and more like a lock. And I'm going to say this. If the Bombers are 2-7, you might just be able to write them off for the playoffs as you're seeing out east. The Toronto Argonauts, Montreal Alouettes, and Ottawa Redblacks be able to go on runs and secure their spots out east. Calgary might be the team that gets in, although that clash between them and Winnipeg could be a good one towards the end of the year, as I think they have at least one more matchup against each other. Now, the Friday game is going to be very hard, and it wouldn't seem to be the case as you have the Montreal Alouettes playing the Hamilton Tiger Cats. A few weeks ago, Hamilton didn't have a single win, but they've been able to back it up with wins over the Argonauts and then recently the Edmonton Elks, as they now sit 2-5, and they play a Montreal team that sits atop the league in the standings, but they are going to be without Cody Fajardo still, at least that's what we're hearing. But they do have Mr. Alexander at quarterback, and he did pretty well last week in the game. I know they didn't really have a whole lot of yards, it seems like, as they ended up throwing, I think, for under 200 yards in that game. But they are going to be trying to take advantage of a Hamilton team that, while is riding a little bit of momentum, still seems like they're in a category below Montreal, certainly at the moment. But you got to watch out for this Hamilton side, as Bo Levi Mitchell ended up going 17 for 25 last week, if I'm not mistaken, had over 300 yards. And a Hamilton side that is motivated is dangerous because while Ottawa is being able to, keep their pace ahead of them, Hamilton knows that they really don't have a chance to try to slip here. And maybe they're thinking, oh, even if we're not able to grab a spot out east, we could be a team that is able to do the crossover. I know it's been a lot of these Western teams that go over and play in the East. Maybe this year is where things get a little bit different. I am so confused on how this game will go. I want to say Montreal, but I think we're going to go Hamilton. They're at home, but I think I'm going to switch back to Montreal before we actually get to kickoff because I am too afraid to end up making this one look bad. So Hamilton for now until we switch over to Montreal like 24 minutes before kickoff. And then the third game of the week is going to be the Edmonton Elks traveling to Riderland as they get to play in Mosaic, and they play a Rider side that is going to be trying to pick up maybe an easy win. Now, this one will be fun for us fans of Canadian quarterbacks because Trey Ford is finally getting his opportunity to start. The whole McLeod Bethel-Thompson thing, you can say what you want at the moment, but I am backing Trey Ford. I've been backing him for multiple years now. I think everybody has. But in the fourth quarter, he was able to go out and have 3 passing touchdowns. It is a different world. And at this point, why not give your younger quarterback an opportunity when you're 0-7 and the playoff conversation is done? No disrespect to MBT and what he's done in the league so far. Trey is younger, and I just think at this point, you got to give him the reins for the rest of the season and decide what you want to do with him in the future. I am so sick of him being held back by this organization. Chris Jones is gone and done and over with, so I want to see them give him a true chance now to see how things play out. if this Edmonton team is able to go on a run towards the end of the year, that's going to be great. And you say, oh yeah, Trey, let's see what you can do in a full year as a starter in 2025. If things don't work out, maybe you can say we could try to play around with things a little bit this upcoming year. I don't know. As for the Riders, they're in a good spot to try to put down an Edmonton team that might be feeling like they have a chance to have an upset here. Do I see a world where Edmonton could pick up their first win? Yes, because I do think they got to go out there and get a win eventually, but I don't think it's going to be today against the Riders. They are going to be trying to keep pace with BC and know that this Edmonton team can go out there and be explosive, but they're going to try to hold them down and get a nice win. And then the final game of the week is going to be the Toronto Argonauts against the Calgary Stampeders. To be completely honest with you here, I'm not exactly sure how I feel about this game. Toronto last year, I would have absolutely picked them, a no-brainer. This year, they've had highs and lows. In recent weeks, it's been a little bit of a low. I know they did pick up win last week, but it was up in the air at the moment with a win to Winnipeg in overtime. As for Calgary, what do you do with them? What do you legitimately do with them? This team, like I've said before, in recent weeks and probably since last season, you never really know what you're getting with them. Are there going to be moments where they look really bad? Yes. Are there moments where they could look good? Yes. And I would like to think that after an embarrassing loss to the Red Blacks on the road, they would try to have a bounce back win against a team like Toronto that wasn't exactly super successful last week in a defensive battle against the Blue Bombers. I have no idea how this game will play out. Could I see Toronto winning this? Yes. Could I see Calgary winning this? Yes. Who am I going to be picking here? Probably Calgary. Jake Mara is going to have to go out there and have a good performance and try to do what he can to get this team in the right spot, because again, they could theoretically be a playoff team still. They could go out there and be a 99 side or even better and make sure Winnipeg doesn't go on and get in there. But with them being so high and so low, so Jekyll and so Hyde, you don't know. So why don't you go out there now against Toronto before they go out and get Chad Kelly back and make a statement and say, yes, we're still here, we're still trying to be competitive, and even though we aren't going to be a team that is a title favorite at the moment, we can possibly beat other teams on any week. And I'd like to close out the Calgary-Toronto talk by saying Jake Mara just air out the ball, because that was a very Jake Mara stat line last week where he threw for under 150 yards, I think, with like 30 passing attempts. So just go out there, Uncle Rico it and throw it a quarter of a mile for all I care. So that's going to be a wrap for the week, and we're hoping that this week is actually going to be better as I pick the BC Lions. Fingers crossed. The Hamilton Tiger Cats, we're totally going to be changing that before kickoff. The Saskatchewan Roughriders, but I'm rooting for Trey Ford to pick up that W, also as a BC fan, but also for Trey. And then finally, the Calgary Stampeders. But you never know, they could have a stinker and again be in a bad spot. But anyway, what are your picks for Week 9 in the CFL? Let me know down below in the comments. Also, please make sure to like this video if you enjoyed it, subscribe if you're new. Everybody stay safe and have a great night.